I've been meaning to record this video for a long time actually, and I'm sorry I haven't recorded it before, to be honest. I truly am sorry, because I think that this kind of information could really help you out if you're in the middle of a construction project or you're about to embark on one. See, we architects tend to draft our preliminary budgets based on a fixed price per square meter, or square foot, if you will. We fix these budgets and then we just go over them. But the reasons we go over them, I would say, are primarily linked to what I'm going to share with you just now. This is why I want to share these 6 tips with you, in the hopes that you embark your next project armed with this knowledge. Because if I'm completely honest, I didn't have it at the beginning. I only got it through experience. I wasn't taught this at school, and I didn't reason it down. And that's saying something, because you'll see that all these are actually quite straightforward. They would seem obvious, but trust me, they were not. In many instances, you're gonna find yourself in a situation where you just cannot go for the cheaper option. That's fine. You don't always need to go for the cheaper option, but you need to know the alternative you're going for, be it because of your particular requirements or council legislations, whatever is guiding your project. You have to know that the decision you're taking or the direction the project is going is actually the more expensive one, if that is the case. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing you should know is there's a reason why houses are built in a row. A terrace house is, of course, cheaper than a freestanding villa, because facades are amongst the most expensive things you can build. You have openings to account for, you have lintels for those openings, and you also have to make them as sealed as possible so that you do not have any heat exchanges between indoors and outdoors. All this makes facades very expensive, which is why, again, a freestanding villa will be that much more expensive than a terrace house. Now the second point, and this will become obvious as soon as you hear it. Imagine we have a 150 square meter house or 1500 square foot house, and now imagine if that house was spread over one floor or several, one on top of the other. Which would you think is cheaper? Well, if you said one floor, then you're awfully wrong. You see, if we have this 150 square meter house, or the conversion feet, in only one floor, then you have to pay that amount of roof area and the same amount for foundations. Foundations for 1, 2, maybe 3 stories is not that much more expensive, depending on the type of foundations you're doing and the soil and whatever. But the difference between building the foundations for 1 floor or 3 is not going to be significant, but you're going to be doing a third of the foundations if you're going to split those 150 square meters into 3 levels. The same applies to the roof. You're going to split that roof in 3, making it 3 times cheaper. And the roof and the foundations are 2 of the most expensive things you can pay for during the casco phase. I spoke about compactness before because it really helps in cool climates such as my own to have our buildings be as compact as possible in terms of thermal resistance, because you have a smaller surface area to have heat exchanges or heat loss to the exterior. But this same concept applies to building. When you build, a compact shape will house more surface area per perimeter. Does that make sense? So the more I go into an elongated form like our own stilt house, the more facade I need per square meter. So the more expensive that project becomes. Fewer windows of larger size are cheaper comparatively to more windows of a smaller size. Of course, up to a point. If you're putting a massive window, then of course that is going to be singularly expensive. However, going back to the basics, if you do many windows which are smaller, that's going to be that much better for the light distribution, as I keep on saying in my numerous videos. So I'll link one somewhere up here. So a compromise has to be drawn here in order to guarantee that proper light distribution. Number of wet rooms. This one, I think the majority of people have a grasp on it, and that is, they know that wet rooms are the most expensive rooms of the house. So that refers to kitchens and bathrooms. These are the most expensive square meters you're gonna pay throughout the whole house. The more wet rooms you have, or the bigger they are, that much more expensive they are going to be. So again, keep this into account. See how many wet rooms you actually require and see if you can cut back on some. You will see the impact of this in the budget, I can assure you. And now the last one, and I've given all these in terms of their impact on the overall budget. The very last one is the one where people want to make the biggest effort, and that comes down to material finishes. I know of parquet that's 750 euros per square meter, as I know also of parquet that is only 50 euros per square meter. So the differences are vast, but if you're cutting, I can guarantee that you're not cutting from 750 per square meter to 50. You're cutting probably from 60 to 50. The amount you can cut is not a lot, and you don't want to be left with only going for the cheapest option, because that's not an option at all. That's just simply picking up from the bottom of the barrel, which again, you shouldn't do that. You should try and design your budget and apply the funds where you're gonna get the most out of them. And this sends me to one extra tip I want to give you. Following the advice of an architect much wiser than I am, and he said something in the lines of, I'd rather spread my budget over a smaller surface area rather than the same budget over a large surface area. This refers to being design intensive rather than extensive. And there's a difference. And how you can apply this is by taking a hard look at the program that you believe you need, see how many bedrooms you actually need, and determine if some of these rooms could be merged together. I mean, you can imagine that if you merge together two rooms, you can spend twice as much on that room, doing interior finishes, making it more flexible for other uses. This is the spirit behind the tiny house movement, where spaces are very intensely designed so that they can be used and adapted according to the varying requirements of the day or the user. You're probably not going to be able to do a terrace house if your plot doesn't have any close neighbors. The way you applied what I just shared with you is by taking a look at the building stock in the region where you draw your price from. If in the region you want to build, houses are typically several floors high and they are terraced, and you're going to be building a villa of one floor, then you should know the average price per square meter or foot is not going to correspond to your project. You're going to be spending more, and you can now go into your project armed with this knowledge.